Okay, folks, we're going to use Unity to build a augmented reality app that we can test on our computer without putting onto a mobile device. So we are going to use a specific version of Unity. I have tested that 2021.3.5 F1 works with the current version of Vuforia. And we'll take a look at what that means, and we'll also take a look at how we install that. So in order to make this work, we are also going to be using the Vuforia plugin. And the last release was December 14th, 2022. So under downloads, if you have created an account and logged in, we're going to be using the Vuforia package 10.12.3. So that is Unity version 2021.3.5 F1 with Vuforia package 10.12.3. I have had a lot of compatibility issues, so if you want to try this with a different version of Unity or a different version of Vuforia, you might run into some of those compatibility issues. Okay, so first things first, if you need to install this version of Unity, you can click Install Editor. You won't find it listed here. You need to go to Archive and click Download Archive. That will open in your browser to Unity. You'll probably have to log in, and you can just scroll down and go to 2021. And let's make this a little bit wider because it works better. There we go. And then you can scroll down to 2021.3.5, and if you click Unity Hub, it will open up and start installing it for you right here in the Unity Hub. Now, if you were to do that, let's just click on a random one, you're going to get this pop-up with asking you what modules you need. You are most definitely going to need Microsoft Visual Studio Community, and I believe that version of Unity comes with 2019. This is going to be a required element to do any of your compiling of your code to make your application work. If you plan to release to Android later, it makes sense to go ahead and click Android. If you plan to do iOS later, you can click it here. And I often like to just do WebGL. I've already got it installed. It's right here. You can see I've got Android and iOS. I didn't bother with the WebGL that time. And so I'm going to go to projects and I'm going to say new project. Now I have a lot of versions of Unity installed, and so I need to make sure that I'm going to be opening it in the correct one. And my new project, if I click here, will open in 2021.3.5 F1. I'm in the habit of selecting the AR core. You might need to download that template, but once you've got it downloaded, you can go ahead and give it a name. It's currently the spring 2023 semester, and I'm building an AR application, so I'm going to go ahead and create that project. Okay, while that's loading, I can jump over to Vuforia, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click to download the Add Vuforia engine to a Unity project or upgrade to the latest version. Click that. I'm going to agree, and that's going to start downloading right there. The other thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go over to the Develop tab. And if you don't have one already, go ahead and get a basic license. Basic licenses are free. And it's going to, if I click on this, it will show me a code, which I'm not going to show online right now, that I am going to copy and paste from this web page into Unity in order to make Vuforia work in Unity. The other thing we're going to need is a target. So this works by recognizing an image. And in my case, what I've done is I've done a search for stuffed teddy bear. And I've found a cute and adorable stuffed teddy bear right here. I've grabbed this image of Holly Holmes teddy bear, and in Vuforia, I've added a database. I've given it this year and the name of my class, and I've gone ahead and I've added the teddy bear as a target, and it's given it a star rating to let me know how well it's being recognized. When I have that all set, it'll take a while to process. I'm going to say download database all. I'm going to select Unity Editor, and I'm going to say download. And that is going to pull that up right there. All right, let's move that off to the side just a little bit, and let's bring Unity onto the screen. I'm not going to be doing any tutorials, so I'm going to go ahead and close this tab. Let's get this on the screen so you can see it. And I've also got this window that's talking about AR project templates. I'm going to worry about this later. I'm not going to worry about this now, because the work that I'm doing here with Vuforia is not dependent upon the Apple or Android AR Core AR Kit information that runs on devices. That will be a later tutorial. This opens to our sample scene. We actually don't want to keep these things in here. I'm going to go ahead and delete those. So we basically have a light in our scene, and that's it. So if I pull this window back up where I downloaded our packages, we're going to go ahead and we're going to open the Add Vuforia Unity package. This is basically a zipped up file, a TGZ that's called Unity package, so that Unity knows you can open it and import it. So I'm going to go ahead and say import. Yes, I would like to update my project to use the new Vuforia plugin. This will take a second, and then we can double check that it is properly installed. Taking a tiny bit of time, but we will get right into it as soon as it is done importing. Okay, so I go up to Game Object, and I should now have the option to use the Vuforia engine components. I am going to start by selecting an AR camera. That's going to bring that into the scene. It looks like I accidentally had my directional, my directional light selected when I brought that in. I'm just going to delete that and show you what happens instead if I have nothing selected and say Game Object, Vuforia engine, AR camera. There we go. It's not parented to the directional light. That's the way that we want it set up. I select the AR camera, and I look down on the details or the inspector tab, and I say open Vuforia engine configuration, and right here is where it's looking for a license. So I hop back over to my Vuforia developer tab. I go to the license manager, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, and that is going to take me into that license where it is going to expose my special key. I'm going to pull that off the screen. I click in. It loads the special key. I'm not going to show that on the screen. I'm going to also move my Unity off to the side. I'm going to copy my key and paste it in where it says app license key. So you can see that just got bigger. And when it accepts the key, I'm going to click away, and it has taken the key. So now I'm going to do a quick test by hitting play, and I'm going to confirm that it can use my webcam. There we go. So I've got my webcam. I've printed out that same image. There we go. And I'm going to stop. So my AR camera is working. It's acting as if it was a phone or a tablet, where it's using the camera and showing me on the screen what's happening in the camera. So now what I want to do is I want to go to Game Object, Vuforia Engine, and I'm going to add an image target. This is going to be an image that exists in the world that the AR application is going to recognize and say, aha, and then it's going to show our virtual content. So pulling my Vuforia window back in, I had already downloaded from the target manager my database with my image target. So I'm going to go ahead and say open that. There is everything, and I say import. And once it's imported, I can now select the image target. And over here on the right, I can say type from database, select the database I downloaded, and then if I need to, if I have multiple targets, I will select the actual image I want to use. So it now is showing me in virtual space what the image looks like. And now I add content. I'm going to say game object, 3D object. Let's add a cube. And let's position that and scale it so we'll be able to see it. And it's often a good idea to parent this object to the image target. And now if we press play, okay, so my webcam is seeing the teddy bear, and at the point that I zoom out enough that it recognizes it, it shows the virtual content. So we now have a working prototype AR application. Obviously, a cube is not a fantastic example. I could bring in some other things. I am going to add to the class site a couple files that actually come from Vuforia. And I'm going to take a second now and show some of those things to you and maybe expand what we're doing. So I have a folder here. Just pull it onto the scene. And so the best way to do this is show you, if I go to Window, Asset Store, and open this up. So the Asset Store has moved. It's no longer built into Unity. And so I can say search online, and that should open a new browser window. I'll pull that browser window in here. And I'm going to search for Vuforia core samples. Look, I recently searched for it. Let's click on that. And this is free. I click on this one. Here we go. There's some different assets that you can use. The problem with this is I have often found that if I import this file into my Unity project, it breaks my project. I've imported it into blank projects, and it breaks those. It breaks everything that I imported into. So what I have done is instead of opening it in this project we're currently working on, I've created a blank project. I've said open in Unity. I've imported it. And then I have removed a few of the assets that I think are really useful. And now, here are those assets. So this one is a PDF. It's 4 different pages that you can print out and you can use as targets. There is an astronaut model. And let's go ahead and let's create a folder here. And I'm going to say core samples. And let's just go ahead and add some of these things in here. So I'm just dragging it into the project folder. There we go. And I can just take that astronaut, scale that astronaut way up, spin the astronaut around, place the astronaut So she is standing on the ground, or oops, I should say standing on the, I am trying to delete the cube, but I don't want to delete the bear. I'm going to take that astronaut and place it on the image target so that it's paired. And I'm going to try and drop that texture onto the astronaut. There we go. So what I can now do is I can press play, and I will be doing a test with my teddy bear. So when I zoom out enough that it recognizes it, it's going to put the astronaut there. And you can see I'm getting a little bit of shake. I think that's because I used a pretty low resolution teddy bear. So it's having a little bit of an issue there. Okay. Now, what I could do is I could swap out this teddy bear for the astronaut. And let's see, I have my window over here, my Vuforia window. I'm just going to pull that up. And I'm just looking to see if I have, I don't think that I have the astronaut in here yet. So I am going to see if I can just pull that down. So I'm just doing a quick search for Vuforia astronaut target, and here we go. I'm going to go ahead and grab this. Let's say open image in new tab. There we go. I'm going to pull this down to my desktop. I'm going to go over to my Vuforia tab, which is up. Here we go. Here. I'm going to go into my 2023 PDP. I'm going to add a new target. Do image. I'm going to browse for that on my desktop. There we go. I'm going to give it a width, let's say 25. Let's say add, and it's going to upload that target. It says processing. It usually doesn't take that long. I can jump out and jump back in, and look, it's already active, and it's got 5 stars. Fantastic. It's what I would expect from something that is made by Vuforia and being installed in Vuforia. I'm going to re-download this database. Download. Here's the file. I'm going to open it again. It will re-import. And now I can select the image target, and I can change it from the usual teddy bear to my scaled astronaut. Now I can press play. And here we are looking at our teddy bear. The teddy bear is no longer going to trigger. But if I move the teddy bear out of the way, I have the astronaut image, and there we go. There's the astronaut. I can also show you that if I move the piece of paper, the astronaut moves with it. So there we go. We have a working AR application that I am testing through a webcam on my computer. I don't even have to push it to a device to make it work. But the next tutorial I will do will be how to get it onto your device and check it out. It's much easier on Android. It's a little more complicated on Apple, but I think the majority of students this year in my semester, in my class, have iOS devices. So odds are I will try and focus on getting it up and running using Xcode from a Mac to push this content to our iPhones. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.